The only thing that we're really going to need, and it's a option as well, is a handheld weight, kind of on the medium side. Could be light to medium. I wouldn't go medium to heavy. You could also opt for a light kettlebell, maybe the 5 to 10 pound kettlebell. We are going to work with the Get-Up today. We haven't done that in a while. So we're going to kind of move through the Get-Up and kind of add things in to kind of build awareness and mobility. Have a light to medium dumbbell somewhere close by. And we're going to start lying on our backs today. Surprise, surprise. So start with the knees bent. Make any micro adjustments, maybe shifting side to side so that you start to feel the heaviness of your sacral bone kind of centered in the pelvis and weighted to the ground. Shoulder blades resting on the floor. I won't say they're flat on the floor because the tops of the shoulder blades really don't rest on the floor. And start with your feet wide, knees dropping in towards each other. And we're going to take a few moments here just to kind of come into our bodies. So feeling the parts that are heavy to the mat, feeling the feet, noticing the parts of the feet that touch the floor. Where do you feel heaviness? What parts of your feet do you feel heaviness in? And is it the same side to side? And then feeling the back of the pelvis, noticing each sides of the pelvis. And again, do you feel a little bit more heaviness on one side compared to the other? And then shift your awareness to the shoulder blades. And notice the same thing. The shoulder blades are interesting. They are completely different side to side, so they're not connected in the center. So can you sense that one shoulder sits higher than the other? Maybe you feel one is a little bit more flat and one is a little bit more rounded up at the top. How close or far away are they from the spine? And then beginning to notice the rib cage and the spine. Notice the different sections of the rib cage, the bottom, the middle, and the top. And what sections do you feel the breath moving in more? And what sides, what regions feel more restricted? And the curves of the spine. How far or close is the lower back towards the floor? What about the neck? And then bring your feet so that your feet are about hip distance apart and the knees are as well. And we're going to start by just moving the right hip. So to do that, we're going to imagine that our leg is a book cover and we're opening the book cover out to the right. So the knee drops open to the right and then close it back in. And just exploring that, you can allow yourself to come onto the outer edge of your foot, or maybe you keep your foot down. Just notice which one you are choosing. Notice how the breath kind of moves with this. Do you find yourself using one part of your breath to open and one to close, or are you just kind of moving and breathing naturally? And as you open and close the leg book cover, notice how the rest of the body responds. How much do you feel your pelvis move? And you're not trying to necessarily hold it still, but you're also not initiating the movement by rocking the pelvis. You're initiating the movement by opening and closing your book. So just notice how the pelvis responds, how the spine and the rib cage, noticing it not just on the open phase, but also the closed phase. And do you feel it all the way up into the shoulder blades and the head? Good. Bring the right leg back up. Take the feet wide and allow the knees again to knock in towards each other. And just check in with your body, how it felt at the beginning. And has anything shifted or changed? And we'll explore the left side. So bring your feet about hip distance apart, knees are as well. And we'll start to open and close the book cover of the left leg. And something else you might sense, which I didn't sense when I was opening the other side, is I actually have resistance in this hip. I don't want to say that it's pain, but there's a sense of discomfort. So track that as well. And if you did feel resistance, kind of note where it is. It is on the front of the hip, the side of the hip, the back of the hip. Maybe it's in the low back or someplace else entirely. And as you continue to move in and out of it, if you did feel it, does it change? Tracking how the body's moving in response to this exploration of movement. Just a couple more. Good. Walk the feet wide and rest your knees together. And come into that space again of just noting shifts and changes or things that have remained the same. Any other sensations, like I feel some vibrating in my front of my hip joint, which kind of feels good. And we're going to roll to either side and press yourself up. So this is Baddha Konasana, or butterfly pose. This is when we have our feet together. It's not what we're doing. You're going to take your feet wide. So if you were sitting on your mat with your mat longwise, your feet would be at least mat distance wide. You want to bring your knees to where they're bent at about 90 degrees. So if you feel like your feet are way out here, just walk them in. Good. Lean back on your hands. You can walk them back as far as you need to, but we're going to do that open book thing again. So you're going to bring the knee in and open it out. And we're not rocking, right? We're trying to not move. The pelvis may or may not move, but we're trying to initiate the movement as we did on our back. So opening and closing one book. And notice resistance. Notice which way it moves easier, which way is more challenged. Take a break with that side and go to the other side. And how is it the same or different? I have more resistance in the front of my hip on this side, which is interesting because when I did it the other way, I had more resistance on the other leg. So I just find that interesting. Good. We're going to cross. We're going to bring both feet in. And we're going to cross our right ankle over our left knee. You're going to walk up slightly, lift your hips and scoot your hips as close to your heel as you can. And then walk as far closed as you can. So walk your hands towards your hips, and this will depend a lot on the flexibility of your hips. I tend to have a lot, so I'm pretty close. My chest is pretty close to my shin, my right shin. Back the hips up a bit. Take the feet a little bit further out. Grab your ankle with your left hand. Use your right hand to push the knee open. And flex your ankle, right ankle strongly. Straighten the left leg. So we're finding as much external rotation as we can currently. Take your right hand off, bring it behind your back. Try to keep the knee as open as possible. And then let go of your left ankle. Try to hold it where it is. And what I see people do is they'll turn their foot in like this in order to think that they're doing it. Keep your ankle flexed. So continue to pull your toes back towards your shin rather than curling your toes in. Cross the ankle over the knee and just fold forward a little bit. So the thing that I love about the Get-Up is that we work every joint in the body. But one of the things that can be challenging about the Get-Up is that it does take a little bit of external rotation. So we're working a little bit more with external rotation at the beginning, just to kind of prime the body and get it ready. So cross the left ankle over your right knee. Hands behind your back. Lift the hips up and move the hips as close to your heel as possible, and then come up as close to your calf as you can. Walk the hips back a little bit. Grab the left foot with the right hand. Use your left hand to push the knee open as you straighten your right leg down to the ground. And while I'm doing this, I am really flexing my ankle strongly. So I'm not doing this, right? I'm doing this. So I want to keep it flexed because that's going to help me have more control of my left hip when I let go and hold. And so we're actively holding our left hip in external rotation. Good. And release. We're going to come back down onto the ground. We'll start to work through the get-up. A little bit at a time. So watch before you lie down. I'm going to show you part one. I'm going to show you what it looks like. The setup for the get-up. Setup for the get-up. So I will say find your 45s. If I have my hands and my legs in as close together, that's 0, right? If I bring my arms out straight to the side, that's 90 degrees. I can't do that with my legs, right? But if I could, that would be 90 degrees. So half of 90 is 45. So if you take it halfway between 0 and 90, that's 45. You're going to do that with both of your legs and both of your arms. And then you'll bend the knee of one side to 90 and take that same arm up. So this is what the setup for the get-up looks like. We're not going to use a weight initially. We're actually going to work kind of building some of these things up a little bit at a time. And step one is the elbow press. So how that's going to look in our first round, you're going to take your right hand behind your head so that the elbow points straight up. And then you're going to roll, think of rolling your rib cage, right side of your rib cage to your left hip point. And your elbow reaches straight up. So it looks like that. Okay, so get set up, find your 45s. Bend your right knee to 90 degrees and take your right hand behind your head. Elbow does not point out to the side, it points straight up to the sky. Good. You're going to think of curling the right rib cage down to the left hip point. As you do, stretch your elbow straight up to the sky. Pause here. Turn your chest towards your left hand. Right knee is pushing out, so we're not dropping the knee in. We're trying to stay open. So that's where that external rotation helps. Keep the elbow pointing up towards the sky as you roll back down onto your back. Good. We're going to do that for 9 more, so a total of 10. So as you exhale, curl rib cage to hip point. Aim chest towards your left thumb at the top, elbow towards the sky, and then roll back down. There's 2. Exhale, roll up to your elbow, chest to thumb, elbow to sky, roll back down. 4. Notice how your left leg starts to kind of lift off the floor. It's pretty typical, but usually means that you are using more of the hip flexor than your obliques. We are flexing the hips, so some degree of hip flexion will be necessary, but try to limit how much you keep going on your own. We got about 3 left. How much that leg lifts. If you think of either pointing your toe a lot and reaching through the tips of your toes or through the heels, that will minimize it. Good. Side 1 done. Bend both knees in towards your chest and rock a little side to side. Show it from a different angle as we go to the other side. So legs long. Find your 45s with both your arms and your legs. Bend your left knee to 90 degrees, foot is flat on the floor. And then reach the left arm up towards the sky. Take the left hand behind the head. Elbow continues to point up. To roll up to elbow press, you are thinking of taking the bottom of your left rib cage to touch your right hip point. So exhale, roll up on your right elbow, and then turn your chest towards your right thumb. Notice if your knee starts to drop in, push it out. Just notice that and try to maintain as we go through all 10, that knee, left knee pushing out, right leg staying connected to the floor. At the top, each time, roll your chest to face your hand that's on the ground and reach the elbow straight up towards the sky. Each time you come up, to help to reduce how much your hip flexor lifts your leg off the ground, either reach your toes down or press down through your heel. We've got 2 more. Good. Come down. Draw the knees in and rock a little side to side. So we're going to back up slightly. Hover your heels or bring your knees above your hips, shins parallel to the ground. Take both heels of your hands and bring them right above your knees. So tops of the thighs, bottom of the thighs, I guess technically. Start to push your knees into your hands. Keep your elbows straight and push the heels of your hands into your knees. And notice how that creates some core activation. Keep pressing the hands and knees together. And we're going to start to rock side to side. So think of your body like a barrel, and you're inside that barrel. And as you rock side to side, your entire body should roll as one, right? So the head moves with the spine, right? We're not keeping the head still. As you rock to the right, your nose is staying in line with your sternum, so it turns to the right as well, and vice versa to the left. Your hips and shoulders should lift off the ground all as one unit. The more you press hands and knees together, the more you're going to feel that core activation, which will help to create this kind of barrel roll. Good. Roll onto your back, bring the knees in towards your chest, and then find your 45s. All right, so we're going back to what we just did. So bend your right knee, 90 degrees. Right fist points straight up towards the sky. Right elbow is straight. Right wrist is flat. Your fingernails turn in towards the center of your body. So your fingernails don't face your knees. They don't face your head. They don't face the wall out to the side. Fingernails face in. So we're preferencing external rotation in the shoulder. Just once, we're going to lift up onto our left elbow the same way we got into it for the last 10. So rib to pelvis, lift up. Pause here, turn your right knee out, turn your chest towards your left hand. You are not going to move your forearm. So your forearm stays where it is. You're going to turn your hand out just slightly. So take it away from your body. Good. Keep looking at your right hand. Keep or left hand, keep facing your chest towards your left hand. You're going to straighten your elbow. And you're going to pause and you're going to look at me. Okay? So pause and look at me. So you can come out of it if you want to. What I typically see people do is they move their hand way back here, right? And what happens is your shoulder pops out of joint. It doesn't pop out of joint, but it's no longer centered, right? So the reason that we work with 45s is because when we come up to here and we turn our chest, we centrate. If we take the hand back, we tend to do this. And now we have that shoulder, head of the shoulder punching forward. So we want to keep it this way, which feels really awkward, but my suggestion is turn your chest more towards your hand. So keep the chest turned towards the hand, bend the elbow, touch the ground. Straighten. Keep the chest turned towards the hand as you slowly lower down and press up. 3 more times. So notice when that head of the shoulder starts to punch forward, and instead turn your chest more towards your hand. Good. On the last one, stay up. I'm going to shift again so you can see next part. So you can pause. If you need a break, you can come out of it. So I'm going to turn my left foot out more. And I have my right foot on the ground. I have to press through both my feet. So the bottom of my right foot and the outer edge of my left foot. I'm still turning my chest towards my hand, and I'm going to lift up, right? So again, if you have that hand way back here, it gets really awkward, right? If you have it where it's supposed to be, which is out more towards in line with your hip, then when you lift up, you're stacked. Okay. So, left hand should more or less be in line with your left hip. Turn your chest towards your left hand. Left leg turns out. Press through your right foot and through the outer edge of your left foot. Lift the hips. Chest still faces the floor. Go down. Each time you lift, turn your chest and your head to gaze down towards your left hand and come down. We're doing a total of 8. We've done 3. Push through the hand, 4. Push through both feet, a little bit more in the right, but you are pushing the outer edge of the left foot down. We have 3 more. 2 and 1. Cut. Lower down. Keep the hand where it is. Lower down to the elbow. Roll the back down onto the ground. Good. So we're going to switch. So find your 45s. Notice 90, notice 0, especially with the arms, right? We want them set up for success. So halfway between 90 and 0. Right hand stays down. Left hand and left knee bend. So when you're doing the get-up, the arm and the leg that lift are the same side. Okay. So we're going rib cage to hip point to come up into that elbow press. Pause. Turn your chest to face your right thumb. Keep your forearm where it is, but turn the hand away from your body. You're going to want to move your hand, but you're not going to move your hand, right? We're not moving our hands. Knee turns out a little bit. Press up, turn your chest towards your thumb, and then go back down. So keep the chest facing the thumb, reaching the elbow, kind of back and in. 2 more here. We're going to lift and stay lifted. Make sure your knee has only been at 90 degrees. So we're not 45 bent. We're 90 degree bent. Yep. Turn your right foot out. Aim your chest towards your thumb. How many of you moved it back? Don't move it back. It's almost in line like you were making an X straight out from your hip. Turn your chest towards your thumb. Press through left foot and right foot. Chest still faces down. Hips lift and down. Good. Keep chest turned towards your thumb as you lift. And you'll see each time you lift, if you were to draw a straight line from your right shoulder or right wrist all the way up through the left wrist, it would make one continuous line. We have 3 more. Left knee continues to press out. Chest continues to square towards your thumb. Last 2. The good thing is when we do the get up, we don't always do all these things. Stay here, bring the elbow down, keep turning the chest towards the thumb, and then roll back down. Good. Hug your knees in and rock a little side to side. Go on, rush dog. People can't see when you're standing there. Good. All right. We're moving on. The hard parts are, the next part is awkward, but we're not moving as much. So find your 45s. Bend your right knee to 90 and take your right fist to the sky. Fingernails face in towards the midline. We're going to come into that elbow press. So roll up onto your elbow, turn your chest towards your thumb. Keep your forearm where it is, move the hand away from your body. Lift up into hand press. Good. Make sure the knee is bent to 90, not 45. Pause and watch. So you can come out of this if you need to. You will lift your hips. Then the leg that's straight is going to sweep back, and you're going to come onto your knee. My knee lands right underneath my hip, right? So sometimes what people do is take it way back here, and then it gets really awkward. You're just sweeping it and planting it directly under your hip. And then you'll just turn forward. And we're in a low knee. So from that hip bridge, so come back up into the hip bridge. The straight leg sweeps and bends under your left hip. Yep, and then just lift up and turn to face me. I know, Barbara, I saw it. You have to listen really closely to the instructions. We're going to get it, I promise. Come into half kneeling on your left knee. Face me. Yep. Tuck your left toes under. You're going to stand up. So that's the get up. But if we got to get up, we also got to get down. So the same leg is going to step back. So your left leg is going to step back. You're going to slowly lower it down to the ground. You're going to pivot your left foot off to the right. So I have it straight behind me. It just goes off to the right. You're going to take your left hand, hips go back, and you're going to take your left hand inside in line with your left knee. Then you're going to kick the left leg through and straight. And then you're going to sit. Yep. We're going to break these down a little bit. Elbow, roll down. But we're going to do it on the other side first, and then we'll go through some of these movements to see if we can clean them up or make room for them. So, find your 45s. Bend the left knee to 90. Take the left arm straight up. Left rib cage to right hip point. Curl, round up to elbow press. See, we've got this now. Forearm stays where it is, but we take the hand out away from us slightly. And then we turn our chest towards the right thumb and lift up to our hand. The chest continues to curl towards the thumb. Turn your right foot out slightly. Make sure your left knee is bent at 90, not 45. Yep. I only say it because I do it every time. You're going to lift into hip bridge. And then you're going to bend the right knee, sweep it underneath of you, and just plant it under your right hip. And then come up to half kneeling. So much better that side, right? Tuck your right toes under. Press through your left foot to come to stand. Yes. Good. Same foot steps back. So step back with your right foot. Slowly let your right knee come down to the ground. Pivot your right foot off to the left. Plant your right hand in line with your right knee. You're going to press through your left foot. Lift the right knee off the ground, sweep it forward. Drop your hip down. Yes. Elbow to the ground. And then roll all the way onto your back. Good. So we are going to come up now to a seated position to see if we can clean up a little bit of these things. So we're going to come back to this thing that we did at the beginning. So feet are about mat distance apart, maybe even a little wider, and you're going to move your hips as close to your heels as you can. Let's check in, open and close your book cover, and just notice if you feel difference already in your hip. And then the other side. Good. We're going to take both knees and drop them to the right. So take your left heel, grab your ankle, and pull it as close to your left hip as you can. Your right foot is going to wrap around the top of your left knee. I'm going to scoot back. If you need padding under your knee, this might be a good time to grab that padding. We're going to start by bringing the hands out in front of our right shin. Push your hands down and forward and just start to shift your hips side to side. So we are working your right hip in external rotation and your left hip in internal rotation. And we're thinking of this shifting side to side as kind of oiling the joint, but also noticing where restriction is, right? So what part of this movement is hard? Is it hard more when you shift to the right, which increases that external rotation? Or is it when you shift to the left, which increases that internal rotation? And then start to crawl the hands out. Again, you kind of have your right hand in line with your right knee and your left hand in line with your right foot. And we're doing it this way because a lot of times we will avoid a hip movement that will actually make it easier for us. So keep your hands in line with the knee and the foot. Bend forward enough that you can lift the hips off the ground. And then come up. So we are lifted on our knees. Push down through your left knee, push down through your right knee, and move your hips forward. So coming as upright as possible, but squeezing our glutes to find a little bit more strength, stability. So to come out, we're going to come out slow initially because we want to find the hip flexion. So think of taking your hands down both of your legs and move the hips in the direction that you would have to if you keep your hands on your legs, and then lower the hands to the floor and slowly reach the hips back to come back. And this may feel really easy for you. If it does, stay with me. If it doesn't, we're doing it this slow because for a lot of people, they lack a rotation, and if they try to do this fast, they will do anything to avoid that rotation, and it can be really hard. So that's why we're going this slow. So hands in line with your knees. Crawl forward, so get that deep hinge. Start to pull the hands back in order to lift up. And then once you're up, come all the way up. Good. Slide your hands down both of your thighs. Send the hips straight back. Then hands land. Sit the hips back. We're going to do it one more time really slow. Hands in line with both of the knees. Shift forward as much as you can. Pull, you're not really pulling, but drag the hands back to pull yourself up. Come up onto your knees. Once you're up there, squeeze your glutes. Push through both of your knees. Good. Hands slide down. Notice if you start to push the hip off to the side, that is a lot of times what will get people. You almost want to push them back straight behind you to lower down. And a lot of that is we'll avoid internal rotation in the hip. So if you have that relatively well, you can try 3 more, not using your hands, going up and coming down. If you don't have it relatively well, try it one more time the way that we've been doing it. Good. So this is similar to the hip bridge, but also the swing through, right? So we need internal, external rotation to be able to swing through. So we're going to give our knees a break and go back to kind of working with the get up. And I'm going to do it on this side. I'm going to show you first what we're going to do. So we're just going to start in this position. And we're going to come up. We're going to lift. We're going to bend the knee in and take it straight. Bend the knee in, take it straight. Bend the knee in, take it straight. We're just going to do it 3 times. So if you were to make an X with your hand from your hip, take it straight out that way. Then turn your chest towards your thumb. Turn the left foot out. Right knee's bent at 90. Lift up into that hip bridge. And then just bend the knee in towards your chest and straighten it. Bend the knee in towards your chest and straighten it. Bend the knee in towards your chest, straighten it. Drop the hip. Take a break. As we're taking a break, we'll go to the other side with the shin box. We just did that side. So this time, left leg is in front. Grab your right ankle, point your right toes back, and bring the heel as close to the hip as you can, which may look different for you. Then hands in line with both knees. Walk forward and start to shift side to side. And now my right hip discomfort comes back. It's so interesting, and I think it's when my hip's in flexion, it's in my right side. And when my hip is less in flexion, it goes to my left side. So I just mention that because I think it's interesting how nothing is the same on both sides of our body in every movement that we do. Good. Now crawl the hands a little further forward. Keep the hands on the ground. Start to drag. So push the hands down and drag back and pull yourself up onto your shins. Come all the way up. Squeeze the glutes. Press the hips forward. To come down, hands slide down. Push the hips straight back and lower down onto the ground. And what we may find is that we can do it better on one side than the other. Take hands down, crawl forward. Start to pull the hands back. Lift up onto your shins. Good. Send the hips back as the hands glide down the thighs. Notice how you try to shift your hips to one side more than the other. Just notice that, because that might be what is making it so hard. Last time like this, hinge forward, start to drag the hands back, pull yourself up, squeeze the glutes, notice what way you start to shift, and shift it straight back, hands glide down. Good. You can do one more like that, or you can do 3 lift up and down regular shin boxes. 2. Barbara, this is your good side. I see it. You're like, wow, why was it so hard on the other side? It's so easy on this side. Very normal. Typical. Good. And we're going to go left leg long, right knee bent. Take your, right leg long, left knee bent. Take your right hand, make that X straight out from your hip. Turn your chest to face your thumb. Left knee turns out. Left arm up. Lift into that hip bridge. And just pull the knee in and straighten it. Pull the knee in towards your chest, straighten it. Last time, pull the knee in, straighten it, lower down. Good. All right, so now we got the swing through, because sometimes that hardest part is how to bend the knee, right? So if we can break each segment down a little bit, we can find a little bit more ease. So I am going to show next part. So bend the knee in, and then you're just going to drop the knee down. So you're going to bend, bring it up, drop it down. Bend it up, drop it down. So this leg is, and this arm, opposite arm and leg, is fully supporting the body, right? So it's kind of like you're just twisting away from the floor towards the floor. And that's why that bend is so important, that you have a 90-degree bend rather than the 45-degree bend. Because otherwise, you won't have that strong hip bridge, and you won't be able to lift your hips up high enough to get that little twist. All right. So come down onto your back. We're going to put things together to this point. So find your 45s, arms and legs, then bend the right knee to 90 and lift the right arm straight up. Good. Right rib cage, left hip point, come up onto your elbow. Forearm stays where it is. Turn the hand away from your leg. Keep the chest squared towards the left thumb. Come up onto your hand. Good. Make sure you're at 45. Turn right knee out, because that's another thing. If you drop that knee in, you won't have the hip bridge that you need. So turn the right knee out. Switch so you can see. And then lift into the hip bridge. Pull the knee in towards the chest, and then keep the arm where it is. Turn the knee down and tap it on the ground. and then lift. Come back to that knee to chest. Knee to floor, knee to chest. Knee to floor, knee to chest. Last time, knee to floor, and then pivot to come to that half kneeling. So you kind of swing the left leg around. Right knee around. Good. And then stand. And sometimes the stand can be the hardest part. Just putting that out there. All right, left leg steps back. Lower all the way down. Pivots the foot to the right. And we're going to pause and do a little something here. So bring your left hand or right hand to your knee. Tuck your left toes under. And just try to sit on your left heel. Good. Come back up. So both sit bones, but more the left sit bone to the left heel. So it kind of takes me from facing my right knee to facing my left knee as I move my hips back. Right. We'll do one more. Good. And then point your toe. And this is how we get out of it, right? We send the hips back towards the heel. Hand to the ground in line with your knee. Yep. And then arm up. You're going to move right, left knee to chest and then straighten the leg. Drop the hip down. Elbow back. Good. And do the same thing on the left side and we'll be about done. So, find your 45s. Bend the left knee 90 degrees. Left arm straight up towards the sky. Left rib cage, right hip point. Roll to elbow press. Aim your chest towards your thumb. Keep the forearm where it is. Turn the hand out. Lift up onto your arm. Keep facing your chest towards your thumb. Make sure your knee is bent at 90. We're going to lift, hips up. We're going to bend, knee to chest, and then tap, knee to ground. Knee to chest, knee to ground. Two more. Knee to chest, knee to ground. Make sure the knee stays stacked over your left heel. Tap it down. Stay here. Come up. Pivot to face your left foot. Tuck the right toes under. If you need to shift forward to do so, you can. Good. Step right foot back. Slowly lower the knee to the ground. And pivot your heel over to the right. Take your left hand to your knee. And then sit right sit bone to right heel. So you're kind of moving it. When you're up, you're facing more your left knee. But when you take the hips back, you're facing more the right knee. Good. So shift it like you're going to sit your right sit bone on your right heel. Good. This time we're going to come out of it. So point the toe. Move the sit bone towards the heel. Hand plants in line with your knee. Left arm up. Left knee out. So keep the knee over your heel. Knee to chest. Straighten the leg. Hip. Elbow. Spine. Very good. Take your feet wide, or take your feet wide. Let your knees knock in towards each other. So we didn't add weight today. Sometimes we don't get to all the things, but if you do practice this with the weight, hopefully going through the breakdown kind of gave you a little bit more clarity in some of those places that maybe you rush through, and why it's important not to rush through. This Get-Up works every joint in every position. It's kind of brilliant that way. And if it's something that's brand new to you, breaking it down makes it a little bit more digestible, rather than rushing into trying to teach it all. Take your feet in hip distance apart, knees also hip distance apart. Take your arms out, T to the body. And we're going to go back to that open book. So start with the right hip, opening the knee out and closing the knee in. And just moving kind of at your own pace. And bringing your mind back to what it felt like at the beginning and how it feels now. And the next time you take the knee out, just let the knee stay out. Notice how your body will kind of grip around the joint to not allow it to open up completely. And note that some of that is necessary, but what is not necessary? And keep your knee out as you start to turn your head side to side. As if you're drawing a line on the ceiling with your nose straight to side. Next time you turn your head to the right, flip your right palm up. Keep the left palm down. And then as you turn your head to the left, switch. So left palm rolls up, right palm rolls down. And just do this a few more times to each side. Good. Let the knee book close and hug the knee in towards the chest. Cross the ankle over your left knee and use your right hand to push the knee open. Point and flex your left ankle, maybe even drawing circles with your right ankle. And just make sure you go in both directions if you do circles. Good. Take the right foot back down. Arms out to the side and start to open and close your left book cover. Notice any changes. Do you sense that the foot is moving the same way that it did? Or do you feel maybe you have a little extra space in your hips so you have to rock fully onto the outer edge? Notice how much the rest of the body moves. How much is the pelvis shifting? What about the spine, the rib cage, the neck? Is it more or less? How fast or slow are you going? Can you go this last time open as slow as possible? And then once your book is all the way open, let it stay open. Make any adjustments you need so that you can let go of unnecessary tension in the hip. And turn the head side to side. Next time you turn to the left, turn the left palm up, right palm down, and then switch side to side. Bring the head back to center. Cross the left leg over the right knee. Use your left hand to press the knee open. And then when you're ready, hug both knees in towards your chest. Stretch the legs long just to feel what the body feels like at the end. And notice each side of the pelvis, each side of the shoulder blades, how the ribs set, how the spine set, and what feels the same side to side and what feels different. And this concludes our mobility practice with the focus on the get up. So hopefully you found yourself getting up a little bit easier than when we started. And you can come up whenever you're ready.